"Pull over, now." The command came from the back seat, sharp enough to cut through the hum of the air conditioning. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror, confused. They were already 40 minutes late to a $1 million recording session at Chicago's most exclusive studio. Every minute was costing thousands. But Michael Jackson wasn't looking at him. He was pressed against the bulletproof tinted window of his black Escalade, staring at something on a Chicago street corner that made him forget about the studio, forget about the money, forget about everything. A 12-year-old boy was dancing. Not just dancing, he was floating. Moving like gravity had personally decided to give him a pass, like the concrete beneath his feet had transformed into clouds. And what Michael witnessed in the next few minutes, it would shatter everything he thought he knew about raw talent. What happened when the king of pop stepped out of that car would change this kid's life forever. Before I tell you what Michael did when he got out of that vehicle, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I'm dropping stories like this every single week. Incredible moments that changed everything for people who had nothing but a dream and the courage to chase it. Hit that button right now so you don't miss the next one. And I want you to drop a comment below. Have you ever had a complete stranger change your life in an unexpected way? I want to hear your story. The best ones might end up in a future video. Now let me take you back to that scorching July afternoon in 2005. Downtown Chicago. The kind of summer day when the concrete shimmers with heat waves and the air feels thick enough to swim through. On the corner of State Street and Madison, 12-year-old Devonte Williams was setting up his usual spot. His equipment wasn't much to look at. A worn piece of cardboard he'd been using for 8 months straight, fraying at the edges, held together with strips of silver duct tape that caught the sunlight, a cheap battery-powered speaker he'd saved up for 3 months to buy, and a pair of hand-me-down Air Jordans, 2 sizes too big, inherited from a cousin who'd outgrown them. His white t-shirt had a small tear near the collar, one his mother had carefully mended with neat, precise stitches before her night shift. But none of that mattered when the music started. See, Devont had been coming to this exact corner every single weekend for 8 months, ever since that devastating phone call when his mother, Carmen, lost her job at the automotive parts factory on the other side of town. The plant had shut down without warning. 400 jobs gone overnight. 400 families left scrambling. Families like the Williams family who were already living paycheck to paycheck. Devont's father, completely out of the picture, had been since Devont was 7 years old, walked out one night and never came back. No calls, no letters, no explanation. That left Carmen alone with 4 kids. Devont was the oldest at 12. Then there was Maria, 9 years old, Jose, just 6, and baby Isabella, barely 3. Every single dollar Devont earned from dancing on this street corner, every quarter, every crumpled bill, went straight into the family's grocery fund. Helped pay rent on their cramped 2-bedroom apartment on Chicago's South Side. His mother worked the night shift now, cleaning office buildings downtown. She scrubbed floors, emptied trash cans, and sanitized bathrooms from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. for barely above minimum wage. She left after putting the younger kids to bed, trusting Devont to watch over them until she came home exhausted at dawn. Carmen had no idea her eldest son spent his Saturdays performing for strangers on busy street corners. If she knew, she'd probably lock him in their apartment until he turned 18. The dangers alone, getting hassled by police, running into the wrong people, being out alone in the city, would have given her a heart attack. But Devont couldn't help himself. Dancing wasn't just a hobby. It wasn't just a way to make a few extra dollars. It was the only thing that made him feel alive. The only escape from the crushing weight of responsibility that pressed down on his 12-year-old shoulders every single day. When he danced, that weight lifted. When he danced, he wasn't a kid trying to be a grown-up. He was just free. As Devont carefully placed his speaker on the sidewalk and tested the volume, he took a deep breath and looked around at the familiar chaos of downtown Chicago. Street vendors hawked hot dogs and pretzels from their carts. Business people in expensive suits hurried past, phones pressed to their ears, too busy to notice anything around them. Tourists snapped photos of the historic architecture. The constant stream of traffic created an urban symphony that had become the soundtrack to his weekend performances, but today felt different somehow. The crowd seemed more energetic. The sun was hitting the pavement at just the right angle, and Devont had been practicing a new routine all week, one he couldn't wait to finally perform. He'd spent hours in their tiny bathroom back home. It was the only space in their cramped apartment where he could actually move freely without knocking something over. He'd practice in front of the cracked mirror until 2 a.m., watching Michael Jackson videos on his phone with the volume on low so he wouldn't wake his siblings. He studied everything. The way the king of pop shifted his weight, how he used his hands to tell a story, the precise timing of each pop and lock, the way every single movement had purpose and meaning. When the opening synthesizer notes of Smooth Criminal began pumping through his speaker, Devont closed his eyes. He let the music wash over him like a wave. And then something magical happened. The shy kid who barely spoke up in class completely disappeared. The nervous boy who got anxious ordering food at restaurants vanished. The child who preferred to blend into the background wherever he went was suddenly gone. In his place stood a performer. His body seemed to flow like water, defying gravity, defying logic, gliding across the rough concrete like it was a polished stage. Tourists stopped mid-stride, cameras forgotten. Office workers on lunch breaks paused with their sandwiches growing cold, mesmerized by this young artist pouring his entire soul into every gesture. A crowd began forming in a perfect circle around Devont, but he didn't notice. He was lost in his own world, completely absorbed in the music and the movement. Each step was deliberate. Each spin was calculated. Each pose held for exactly the right amount of time. He wasn't just copying Michael Jackson's moves. He was interpreting them, adding his own flair, his own story, his own pain and hope into every gesture. 3 blocks away, Michael Jackson was getting frustrated. His convoy of black vehicles sat trapped in typical downtown Chicago gridlock. Traffic moved like molasses, stretching endlessly ahead. His manager, Frank Di Leo, was making increasingly frantic phone calls to the studio, trying to buy them more time. That's when Michael heard something. His own music, but performed with a passion that cut through all the noise of the city like a laser beam. The sound carried on the summer breeze, and it stopped Michael cold. It reminded him instantly of why he'd fallen in love with performing in the first place. That pure, raw energy, that joy. "Driver, what's that sound?" Michael asked, pressing his face against the tinted window. James Mitchell, his longtime driver, pointed toward the growing crowd ahead. "Looks like a street performer, Mr. Jackson. Some kid dancing to your music." Michael squinted through the heat waves rising from the asphalt. Even from 3 blocks away, he could see something special was happening. The crowd was growing larger by the minute. Phones were coming out. There was an electricity in the air. "I need to see this up close," Michael whispered. James glanced back nervously. "Sir, maybe we should keep moving. There's already a lot of people. If they recognize you." Frank looked up from his phone. "Michael, we're 40 minutes late. The studio time is costing a fortune." "No." Michael's hand was already on the door handle. His voice carried a wonder his team rarely heard anymore. "This is exactly where I need to be. Sometimes the universe puts you exactly where you're supposed to be." Meanwhile, Devont was deep into his routine. He executed a perfect anti-gravity lean, that signature move that seemed to defy the laws of physics. His small body tilted at an impossible angle as the crowd gasped. He held the pose for a full 8 seconds before smoothly transitioning into a series of spins. He was so focused, so absorbed. He didn't notice the black Escalade pulling over at the edge of the crowd. Didn't notice the man in the signature black fedora now standing at the back of the audience, watching with growing amazement. The whispers started slowly, rippling through the crowd like waves. Is that? No way. That's really him. Michael Jackson is here. But Michael's attention was completely fixed on Devont. This boy reminded him powerfully of himself at that age. The raw passion, the complete dedication, the way dance could transport you to another dimension. This kid had something that couldn't be taught in any studio. This was pure, unfiltered talent. As Smooth Criminal reached its dramatic climax, Devont launched into the most challenging part of his routine. Rapid-fire spins followed by the signature toe stand that required perfect balance. The crowd held its breath. When the final notes faded, Devont struck the classic pose, one hand on his hip, the other pointing skyward, head tilted at the exact angle he'd practiced 1,000 times. Thunderous applause erupted. Money flew into his cardboard box, and then Devont's eyes swept across the audience. His entire world stopped, standing at the back. Black fedora, dark sunglasses, that unmistakable smile. Not a look-alike, not a costume, the actual living legend. "Oh my God," Devont breathed. "This can't be real." His knees started shaking. The confident performer vanished. In his place stood a 12-year-old kid face to face with his biggest hero. Michael stepped forward slowly, navigating through the buzzing crowd. He removed his sunglasses and flashed that iconic grin. "That was absolutely incredible, young man." His voice carried clearly. "Where in the world did you learn to move like that?" Devont could barely speak. I watch your videos every single day, Mr. Jackson. I practice in my bathroom. My mom thinks I'm crazy." Michael knelt down to Devont's eye level. "What's your name, son?" "Devonte Williams, I'm 12. His voice cracked. You're everything to me, you're the reason I dance." Michael's eyes glistened. He saw something in this boy, the hunger, the dream, the desperate hope that dancing could somehow change everything. Then Michael reached into his jacket. He pulled out a white glove, not just any glove. One of the actual gloves from the black or white video. Pristine, carefully preserved, almost glowing in the afternoon sun. The crowd gasped collectively. "This has been with me through some of my most important performances," Michael said, placing it in Devont's trembling hands. "But I think it belongs with someone who truly understands what it means to dance from the soul." Tears streamed down Devont's face. "I can't take this, Mr. Jackson. It's too important. Talent like yours is meant to be celebrated." Michael's voice was firm but gentle. "Promise me you'll never stop dancing." Then his eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. "Actually, want to dance with me? Right here, right now." The crowd went absolutely wild. Someone retrieved a speaker from the Escalade. The opening bass line of Billie Jean started pumping. And right there, on a Chicago sidewalk, surrounded by 300 strangers, magic happened. Michael Jackson and Devonte Williams began dancing together. The transformation was immediate. Devont's nervousness evaporated. He matched Michael move for move, spin for spin. When Michael moonwalked backward, Devont moonwalked beside him. When Devont added his own unique flair, Michael incorporated it into his movements. They fed off each other's energy, creating something neither could achieve alone. For 4 minutes and 57 seconds there was no superstar, no street kid, just two artists connected by the universal language of dance. Traffic stopped completely. Police arrived and simply watched. Phones recorded from every angle. When the music ended, Michael put his arm around Devont. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced to the crowd, "remember this name, Devonte Williams. You're going to hear it again." Then he leaned close, speaking only to Devont. "I'm giving you my manager's number. We're going to make sure you get real training. Talent like yours doesn't belong on street corners. It belongs on the world's biggest stages." Michael Jackson kept every single promise. 6 months later, Devont stood in a state-of-the-art Los Angeles dance studio, training with choreographers who had shaped the biggest names in entertainment. Michael had established a full scholarship fund covering his education through college. Carmen Williams was able to quit 2 of her 3 jobs. The family moved from their cramped South Side apartment into a real home in a safe neighborhood where the kids could play outside without fear. But Devont never forgot where he came from. Never forgot that worn piece of cardboard held together with duct tape. Never forgot those oversized shoes or the cracked bathroom mirror where it all began. Today, Devonte Williams is an internationally recognized choreographer. His name appears on Grammy-winning albums and chart-topping music videos. He's worked with artists whose posters he used to have on his bedroom wall. That white glove, it's displayed in his Beverly Hills studio, not behind glass, out in the open where he can see it every single day. A reminder that one moment of kindness can change everything. And every single weekend, without fail, he returns to Chicago's South Side. He teaches dance at community centers to kids just like he used to be. Kids who dance because they have to, not because they want to. Kids carrying weights on their shoulders that no child should have to carry. He tells them the same words Michael told him that day on State Street. Practice every day. Dance from your heart. Never give up on your dreams, because you never know who might be watching. That street performance has been viewed over 150 million times across every platform imaginable. It's been featured in documentaries, discussed on talk shows, and studied in music schools around the world. But for Devont, the real magic wasn't captured on any camera. It was the moment his hero looked into his eyes and saw not a struggling street kid trying to make a few dollars, but an artist worthy of belief, worthy of investment, worthy of a chance. Some encounters don't just change one life. They ripple out for generations. They inspire millions of people to keep going when they want to give up. A superstar stuck in traffic, a kid trying to feed his family, and a song that connected them across every barrier that should have kept them apart. That's the power of recognizing talent, of stopping when you could keep driving, of believing in someone who has nothing but a dream. You never know whose life you might change today. You never know who's watching you right now, waiting to see what you're made of. So keep going, keep practicing, keep dancing, because your moment might be closer than you think. If this story moved you, smash that subscribe button right now. I'm sharing incredible stories every week about ordinary people who had extraordinary moments that changed everything. Drop a comment telling me what dream you're still chasing. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know what you're working toward. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it today, someone who might be ready to give up. Someone who needs to be reminded that magic can happen anywhere, even on a random street corner on a hot summer day. Your moment is coming. See you in the next one.